there are not very many things out there that I hate, and one of those is school. I hated every second of school. I hated the very idea, the very not the idea of education, but just the way that we have our education set up. And that comes down to a couple things. And one, the first being is a lot of it's just intellectually and spiritually suffocating for you. And here's what I mean. Look, humans, we were born out in the wild. We were meant to roam free, or at least, roam free every once in a while we stayed in the village. But in school, what do? We are locked, we are stuck in a room. We are stuck in a room for 8 hours a day, except for like 15-minute breaks in between and then a 30-minute lunch. Like we're in some fucking 9 to 5. We sit in this fucking box and we listen to a teacher or someone ramble on who doesn't give a shit about the material. Some of them do, okay? Some of them do. Not all. I'm not saying teachers are all bad because I've had some fantastic teachers. I'm just saying that they're just as fucked by the system than we as students. Like we are as much of a victim as a lot of these teachers are, and they probably get like dejected about it after a while because they see, oh fuck, this sucks, right? So I don't blame the teachers here. I blame I blame everyone. We are kind of all at fault here. And that's because we are continuing to perpetuate this system that is just it's literally not conducive to learning. Now, why I'm going into this today, why I'm going into pain, is because if I didn't go through that first 20 years of being in the school system and being like, what the fuck? If I didn't go through that, I would never have developed the resolve and the pain, the anger, the resentment, and transmute that into energy that gets me through this whole entrepreneurial journey. Because I'm telling you, entrepreneurship sucks. It has its own set of shit too, but I'm willing to put up with that because the shit in school was fucking nothing compared to that, right? So we we like to be really all. There was a book that I read. Let's see, The Hard Thing About Hard Things with Ben Horowitz, and there's a distinction that he makes between the two types of CEOs that you need. You want like a wartime CEO and a peacetime CEO. A peacetime CEO is great because like you can tell a lot about a CEO between whether they're in peace times or war times. And here's what let's break that down a little bit more. And peacetime CEO would be like Google for the years leading up to AI, right? They were doing great. They're kicking ass. Things were going great. But now they're going into war because they've been caught back foot by this whole open AI thing, and their people are calling into question the leadership of Sundar Pichai and whether he's going to be able to handle that. Now that remains to be seen. That remains to be seen. We've only been in this AI thing for a little less than 2 years now. So who knows? But there's a distinction to be made between wartime and peacetime. And the reason why I make that is because as an entrepreneur who's new to the game, you are in wartime. You are in fucking Normandy. You just beached on Normandy. All right, and that's what it feels like every fucking day because you're just confronted with your inadequacies, with all your bullshit every single fucking day. And this is and the actions that I have to do are the same, right? That I like building an audience, growing an audience, getting clients. It really all comes down to the same like 3 to 5 repetitive tasks that you have to do over and over and over and over again. And it's painful. But all of that is nothing compared to the idea of being in a 9 to 5. Because we like to say to everyone like, okay, anger is bad, resentment is bad, hate is bad, and whatever. All these negative emotions are bad, and we've gotten allergic to that as a society, and that is like, I mean, yes, a hate gone unfettered, unchecked, yeah, it is bad. I can agree with you. But hate is not bad, period. I do not agree with that. every negative emotion, this is the problem. We all run away from our negative emotions. We go into fucking scrolling through our phones. We go to weed. We go to all these highly accessible sedatives that we just used to run away from our problems forever. And you wonder why we're fucking miserable more than any other generation ever. And I'm calling us out, Gen Z, dude. You guys we gotta lay off the vape pens here, bro. Like seriously, I'm telling you, lay off the vape pens. Try doing it without for a day, and see what happens. You'll realize how fucking emotionally unregulated that you become by these things. Now, again, I'm going on a tangent here, but really the core thing that I want to say here is that we run away from our problems. We run away from our problems because we can't confront negative emotions. And when I say confront negative emotions, I don't mean like process that shit. Like, yes, you can process that shit by thinking about it, but I mean using it as a catalyst to drive positive change. Negative emotion can be transmuted to drive positive change. Literally, think of any fucking negative emotion: anger, hatred, or anger, sadness, or I don't know, resentment, whatever any of those things are. You can use those things and fuel it and use it to fuel a pursuit that gets you out of that state that keeps you angry and sad and whatever the fuck, right? Because we don't we just like take these things at surface level and we're like, oh, this sucks, I don't like this, get it off of me. Well, it's not going to get off of you, right? That's the problem. It's never going to get off of you if you just keep turning to drugs. In fact, if anything, it's just going to make it worse. And this is why we are so fucking anxious, so fucking depressed, so isolated, so cloistered, so all of these things, because it comes down to that a few things. And the first thing we need to do is to come to terms with our pain. And we are allergic to that. We're scared of our pain. When really we have to run towards it. We have to do the exact opposite. We like look. This might sound paradoxical, but it's true. We have to run towards our pain. We have to follow it, not process it, but we have to follow it and see where it takes us, right? Because if I'm getting called fat at the beach, well, then there are two things, right? Like as Dr. K, I really like the way Dr. K talks about these things. There's two things you can do if somebody calls you fat at the beach. One, maybe you are actually fat and you need to lose weight, and you need to get and let me put this in a more positive way. And I think it's like if somebody calls you fat at the beach, well then look inwards. What do you think? Do you think that you're not taking good care of your health? Or two, do you need to think more positively? Look, dude, it's a lot easier. Trust me, I was 40 pounds overweight. It's so much better to actually be fit and then have the little affirmations about how I'm so cool and all that shit. You're not like all the affirmations, all like the saying, "Oh, I'm great. I love myself." That I'm not saying it doesn't work, but I can't imagine that it would be a permanent solution. You'd have to be telling yourself that into the mirror for the rest of your life if you don't have anything to stand for, right? So negative emotions. How can we think of this, right? So like I've already hammered it. Like we need negative emotions to kind of what's the word? We need negative emotions to drive positive change. Okay, what does that look like? All right, well, anxiety, or let's start with anger. For me, because for myself, anger and like a little bit of hatred is definitely like what fuels me a lot of the time right now. And that is anger towards school, anger towards this system that is just, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, is just hostile to happiness. It's just completely antithetical to happiness. It's not. They don't line up at all. And right now, it's like anger and dread. That's it, right? Because sometimes, like on my worst days, when I'm in the entrepreneurial game, like, and I just feel like so dumb or whatever or inadequate, and, I think, all right, well, I need to. Well, I just feel the pain of school is or just being in the system and working a 9 to 5, and I do work a 9 to 5, and I hate it, and the pain of being in a 9 to 5 for the rest of my life, that would be the alternative. and that I would rather die. I would literally rather die. I mean that. Look, I mean that, dude. I would literally rather die. And I'm sick and tired of people telling me that I'm extreme or whatever the fuck. But I think you're extreme for wanting to do the same fucking thing at the same fucking company in the same fucking way for 40 years. You tell me that's not extreme? So I I mean, you can probably tell how impassioned I'm getting by this, but the pain of that is so much greater in my opinion, that it's that like feeling inadequate, the shit that you feel for entrepreneurship just pales in comparison. Or at least like I'd rather stomach that than the pain of that. So it was pain, and this this desperation, this dread is what pushed me to consider other alternatives, or to consider alternatives. And a lot of that, like the put me, or like the terrifying conclusion I came to that was entrepreneurship is the only way out of this shit. It's the only way out for good. Like, and it's the only way out where you get a whole lot of money and relatively fast. When we say relatively, we mean like 3 to 5 years, which is literally the same amount of time that it would take you to get your bachelor's degree. In the same amount of time of you grinding to get a business up and going, it would take you the same amount of time as it would a bachelor's degree. But the only difference is you don't have some fucking asshole trying to improve that you have to get your vacation approved, or you don't have to fucking, oh, I don't know, you don't have to get the fucking 4% raise even though you put in like so much more work than all your other coworkers combined. Get the fuck out of here, dude. What the hell? I like the idea of just getting someone to approve my vacation, but you can't because you don't have the seniority. Everybody else has seniority over you, so you can't get the fucking vacation you want. In fact, you probably have to work every fucking holiday, from Christmas to New Year's Eve to Thanksgiving. You can't even see your family because you're forced to work the holidays because you don't have the seniority. How fucking pathetic is that? So as you can see, I'm getting angry of this because this is something that hits home. This is something that, like, my freedom, my autonomy, that is something that I'm just not willing to give up. And the only viable career path for me that supports that is going to be entrepreneurship. And even then, like entrepreneurship, like I'm going to have to eat shit for a couple of years getting it to work, and then I'm going to be able to, as I get better, be able to optimize it in a way that it does do that for me. Because I know how this goes. Every freaking day, it was just the same repetitive actions. And how it's going to have to be. But I know that at the end of that tunnel is going to be like that the rewards are theoretically infinite, whereas at a 9 to 5 or the tip standard way, it's not. So I hated school all my life. I hated it. And there's that anger, there's that pain that led me to consider the alternative, because I just was so desperate to get out of it that the only thing I could think of was that the only thing I was able to find was entrepreneurship. And obviously, for a long time, I was like, "Why? Is there really anything else?" None. There's nothing. So I think we need to really examine our negative emotions, because they tell us the things that we already knew all along. We knew it all along. Those are the things that are indicating to us, like, oh shit, we got to do that. All right, so peace.